This is Scott Erland, and we're back for part 4 of the 2014-15 men's basketball preview with Coach Schertz, talking about the forwards now. And obviously, we lost one of the best players in program history, arguably, last year. And so now it's going to be just talk about what the kind of makeup of this forward group now.
Well, I think you got a lot of good pieces. They're just unproven pieces. Mm-hmm. When you look at our team, I think you probably would start with Keenan Peterson because he started most of the games last year. He started, I think, 29 games. KP had, I think, 5 double-doubles as a junior. He finished in the top 10 in the league in rebounding and blocks. He had some really good games. And obviously, I thought, and I think this is kind of the case for KP, for Curtis McMillian, and for Paul Woodson. Some really good games and some games that disappeared, and they no-showed. And Vinny was the one guy that pretty much on a night-in, night-out basis was great. And then the other 3 kind of, hodgepodge together to kind of buffer the other spot. And they're going to have to be more productive, more consistent this year. In their ability to impact the games. But you start with KP. He's a guy that, again, had I think 5 double-doubles, had a 19 rebound game, another 16 rebound game. I mean, he can block shots. He's 6'10". He's a guy that probably, out of the returning guys, is the best, pure low block scorer that we have. So he's a guy that hopefully will kind of take on the role, take on the challenge of being able to play and be more consistent. He's got to stay out of foul trouble. I think he fouled out of 7 or 8 games last year. In 17.5 minutes a game, I was like he was playing a ton. He's got to be more disciplined defensively, and so those are areas he's got to grow in. But he's a 5th-year senior, so if not now, when? Curtis McMillian finished 2nd in the conference in blocks. Average, I think he had 3 or 4 double-doubles as well. Had some great games for us. Again, like KP, like Paul, had games where he disappeared. So can he be more consistent? Can he impact games on a consistent basis? He's got to be a guy that plays to his potential for us probably to have the type of year we hope to. Kurt's a real skilled guy. He can score on the low block. He shoots the ball a lot better than from the perimeter than people would guess. I mean, he doesn't take many. He took 3 threes last year, made 2, and I think he shot in the mid-80s from the free throw line. He's really got a nice touch. He just needs to be more aggressive shooting, but he can stretch the floor and make threes. Paul Woodson's probably, I'd say the most improved guy in the program. He's in terms of IQ and understanding what we're doing and all that. He's at the very top of the food chain. His defensive discipline, his defensive execution is tremendous. Another guy that's got much like Kurt and himself and KP, foul prone, and so has to do a better job there. We have to do some things to try to help those guys not foul as much. So we may look at doing some different things to try to keep them out of foul trouble. But it starts with their discipline and those things. But Paul understands what's going on, and he's really improved his offensive game. And that was really his biggest weakness last year, was being able to, he struggled to score the ball. Where Kurt, KP, and obviously Vinny were more advanced on the offensive end. But when you get past those 3 guys, you got a group of 4 that'll be interesting to see, and we don't know yet, who will redshirt, who will play. We know Dawood Fisher-Grace will not redshirt because he redshirted last year, and we expect Dawood to have a really, to impact us as a redshirt freshman. He's 6'10", he's 280 pounds, he can score over both shoulders, he runs the floor pretty well. The biggest problem for him is he's been out 7 weeks of the preseason with a knee. He's back, he's healthy, he's working hard. He's a great kid. He's still, he's not going to be, great right now, but we think down the line he can be really good. But we think he can help us this year, certainly in certain games. And that's one of the hard things in this league is you have so many teams that play different ways. So, you have some teams that play with 2 or 3 bigs, and some teams that play with 5 guards. So you got to be able to, to kind of, on a nightly basis kind of figure it out. But Dawood's a guy in certain games, because of his size, because of his strength, because of his skill set, should be able to have an impact here as a redshirt freshman. We have 3 true freshman bigs in our program, and some will redshirt, and some, one may play. But you look at Dorian Pinson from South Carolina. Dorian's a guy that we think has a chance to be a good player. He's, you know, one thing we talk about with our true freshmen, we tell these guys all the time is, you know, there's 3 reasons that, you know, that keep true freshmen off the court. And if you're deficient in any one of these 3 areas, you know, you're not going to get, we can't play you. And if you look at it, you know, one is how hard you got to play, the transition from high school to college and the effort level required. 2 would be the physicality of the game. Can you physically put yourself into plays? And the 3rd area is understanding what's going on both ends of the floor, being able to understand our system offensively and defensively. So all 3 of them are deficient in at least one of those 3 areas right now. I think one or more will get to speed by the time we get started here in November. And so I think we'll have probably 5 posts dressing, probably 2 guys redshirting. But we're excited about all 3 of those young guys, and you know, and I mean, we didn't mention the guards, but guys like Micah Thomas, Carly Clemens. We're excited about those young guys, even though you're not always going to see them right away. It doesn't mean that they're not good. A lot of our guys that are our main guys now are guys that redshirted and have come through the program. So, but I'm excited about those 3 guys. Emmanuel Terry, Nixon Blanc are in the same boat. You know, Emmanuel Terry is a super talent, maybe the most talented player we've recruited here in terms of just sheer athleticism and size and his ability to do things that we haven't seen. And Nixon Blanc is an absolute load down there. I mean, he's 6'6", 6'7", 260 pounds, and unbelievable motor, plays extremely hard, and once he catches it, he's our best low block scorer. He's got a lot of work to do between that, catching the ball, but once he catches the thing down there, he's as good as we have at going to score it, and he's a great kid who's always turned up to play. So we expect he'll be a great player here, whether it's this year or down the line. We expect the same for Emmanuel and Dorian, but one of them will likely dress out, and then the other 2 will probably redshirt.
Okay, you pretty much mentioned everybody, and we know that it's going to, in a lot of ways, be a committee down there. But let's look a little more in depth at a couple of our players. Keenan Peterson, last year, he averaged 5.9 points a game, 7.8 boards, and that was in 17.5 minutes. And a lot of the things he got were just from scrapping, being scrappy, and he knew that he wasn't the first, second, or even maybe the 3rd or 4th option a lot of times when he was on the court. And he produced just sheerly on effort and being in the right place at the right time, putting himself in the right position. How might things change now that he moves up in terms of the options?
Well, he's definitely a guy that will get more opportunity to score the ball, you know, down there. He's a skilled guy. You know, Keenan's biggest problem over his first 4 years has just been, you know, his consistency, and so, you know, you look at his first 3 years, he didn't play. You know, he redshirted and then spent 2 years. I think he averaged 1 or 2 points a game, and so he didn't get any playing time. To his credit, you know, he was behind some really good guys. He stayed, he persevered. Last year, he gets to start, and when things are clicking for Keenan, he's as dominant a big man as there is in the conference. You look at the 2 Wingate games, and you look at there was 4 bigs on the floor in that game, right? And 3 of them are pros now: Vincent Bailey, Deion Turman, and Jeffrey Parker. And in those 2 games before the conference tournament, I don't know how I did in the conference tournament, the first 2 games, Keenan had 35 rebounds. I mean, he was the most dominant big on a floor full of pros. He was the best of those guys in those 2 games. But he has games where, you know, he disappears. So, you know, can he be consistent? We're certainly going to try to. He'll certainly get more opportunity relative to, you know, post touches, and we'll run more things to try to get him the ball in tight, because, like I said, right now he's probably the guys that'll play our best low block scorer. But he's got to stay out of foul trouble, you know, which was a big reason. You look at the 17.5 minutes, but I think there were 7 or 8 foul outs. And he's got to stay out of foul trouble because that really limits his minutes. And he's got to be disciplined relative to defensively, you know, what we're doing. Like Vinny was as good as we've had, you know, in terms of pick and roll coverage, understanding what we were doing, and Paul's great at that. You know, and KP's got to get to the point where he's on point in all those areas. But he's a guy that, you know, if we're going to have a chance to be successful, he's got to be a guy and he should be a guy that's, you know, a double-ish type of guy. You know, and Kurt McMillan's in the same boat, but, you know, they're guys that are capable of getting a double-double every night, but also guys that are capable of averaging a double-double. But KP's got to be able to sustain his level of effort and focus and discipline, and be more reliable and dependable on a day-to-day basis, so he can have the type of year that he hopes.
And then we had talked about how good the guards were. How let's not say how good the guards were, but how the potential for the guards to be elite defensively. Mm-hmm. Well, you've got some guys in the back who are so athletic and so long that they can get up above the rim and block shots. Curtis Million, he set the single game record last year against Bob Jones for block shots. He had 59 on the season, and he was only averaging 18.5 minutes a game. Obviously, Paul Woodson, pretty much the same type of guy. Very athletic, very long. How can that kind of change the context of the game with those two guys back there that can block shots when guys do get beat off the bounce?
Well, I think, you know, anytime you're you know, from a defensive standpoint, anytime you got guys that can protect the rim and can erase mistakes, it certainly is a huge help. You know, I mean, when you look at our team last year, I think we were second in the league in blocks, and I think Kurt was second in the league in blocks. I think KP was ninth in the league in blocks, and Paul didn't play enough minutes, but he was another guy that's a good shot blocker. So you got three guys that we think can block shots back there. And so what it does is it you know, when you do get beat, and you're going to get beat off the dribble, and guys get the rim, you know, you got guys that can not only erase mistakes, but then it can really kick you out in transition, allow you to, you know, you messed up, you got beat off to the rim, guy goes to shoot a layup, guy comes over, blocks a shot. Now you have numbers going the other way, and you can get a transition basket, an easy basket, and that's the value. But it's really difficult to be an elite defensive team unless you can protect the rim. And if you look at the history of LMU, and I don't know the exact numbers, I have to get Porter in here, but you know, out of the top 10 shot blockers in school history, a significant chunk have played in the last 4 or 5 years. Because it's something we recruit to, something we work on, something we teach. Never been big on, you know, if it's a guy like a Tony Martin, they're going to take a charge on how they protect the rim. You know, but most of our guys are athletic enough to block shots, challenge shots, and do those things. So, you know, I'm hopeful that that'll be kind of the anchor. The big's got to be the anchor of your defense. And there's no doubt about that. You know, all the guards, and particularly the point guards, the head of your defense, there's no doubt that the bigs are the anchors. And you got to have, from pick and roll coverage to guarding action to protect the rim, they got to perform at a high level. And so they've shown it again in flashes. You know, Kurt's shown flashes of being a great shot blocker. Keenan's shown flashes of being a great shot blocker. Paul's shown flashes. Can they turn those short spurts into longer spurts? Because that's what's going to have to happen for us to become the team we're capable of becoming.
Well, that's part 4 of our 2014-15 men's basketball preview. We'll see you again tomorrow for the 5th and final portion of this preview.
Sounds great.